I'm sorry?
Is it Quebec Greek?
What do you mean? Oh, I was born in Quebec, yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Well, it's right on the 3:45, so everyone here has lots on their plate, so I like to start right away. And so I would like to, first of all, thank you for joining us. This was a request that came from maybe not specifically you yourself, but it came from your cohort. You wanted to have someone talk to you about the teacher evaluation process, right? And for the most part, it's the bones of it are the same everywhere, but every administrator does their own little tweaks here and there. And so we thought it would be great just to give you an opportunity to have someone who has done this and who is well known and well respected for doing a great job of these in the district. And so I'm going to turn it over to Antigone. No, Antigone. No, Antigonish. Antigone. I did it? I did it. Woohoo! Antigone, I'm going to turn it over to her, and you guys are in fantastic hands. She'll walk you through the process, and then, as always, this is recorded, but I do go back and kind of shorten it and edit and things like that. So I'm sure there'll be time for questions at the end. I'm here, but I am going to turn off my computer so that she can have your full attention. And if you're joining us, hi, Craig. If you're joining us and you are a new teacher learning community member, it would be awesome if you could have your camera on. I know Tara's camera is not working, but it's always nice to talk to real faces instead of little circles. So hi, Wanda. So, okay. So take it away. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, well, I'm just going to walk you through what I do here at the school. It absolutely in no way is this written in stone. Everybody does it differently. This is how I feel more comfortable doing it here at Evergreen. I follow my process, but through the guidelines of Anglophone East as well. So the first thing that I do is we have our 20-day evaluation for long-term supply teachers. So basically the first 20 days of here, you walk in, you kind of get a feel of how the teacher is, what the atmosphere is like. You don't go to evaluate per se, just to get a feel as, what resources do they need? What's the relation they have with the colleagues, with the students? So if that first 20 days, you're like, yeah, I think this will work out, you just leave it at that. And there's a form that you have to fill out on the portal. In all honesty, I haven't done it yet this year, but I will be doing it. That's a step that we district keeps on reminding administrators not forget to do. And we always do because we get so busy, like everybody, all of you can understand. So it's a form just like this, and it tells you, I know you can't see it, but it's a form that tells you step by step what you need to do. It says 20 days, 3 months, 4 months. You just follow it depending whether it's a long-term supply teacher or if it's a contract D teacher. So I show this to whether I schedule a meeting with all contract D and long-term supply teachers, and I give them a folder like this. And in the folder, the sheet that I just described to you about the 20 days, the 3 months, and the 4 months and longer, that is I explain that to them so they'll know what it's going to look like. Then I tell them that I will be popping in like walkthroughs. They can be as short as 5 minutes. They can be as long as half an hour. And then they will choose 3 or 4 times where I officially come in and I observe them and I try to see literacy, numeracy, and science or social studies. And then we have debriefing meetings after the actual formal evaluation where I ask questions. Sometimes I give them questions that they have to reflect upon and then give their answers back to me, whether it's or verbally or in written form. If it's a walkthrough and I see something and that I'm not I don't really understand what the idea of that activity was, I just ask them to meet after school and we quickly talk about what I observed. And sometimes I just say, come pass by, so we'll just have a quick chit chat. So it's very informal and say, what do you think? How do you think that the lesson went? If you had to redo the lesson, what would you change? What was the strengths of the lesson? What didn't go as well? So it's just to hear their feedback and to see really how they self-reflected, because I think self-reflection is really very important in order to improve the practices that they do in the classroom. So Then what I do in the file, if they're contract D, I photocopy the actual evaluation sheets that you can print out from the portal for Anglophone East, and one for the long-term supplies, depending what they are. And I tell them, these are the various outcomes that outcomes I call them. These are the various keys that I will be looking for. Explain to them what the 1, 2, 3, 4 system is about. But I also tell them, because I give them a written description of what a 4, 3 is. And I say, this is an activity we do as a staff before we do report cards to really make sure we understand what a 3 represents, what a 4 represents, a 2 represents. And I tell them, before you actually sit there and evaluate yourself, really look at the wording of what a 3 and a 4 is, and really look at it as if you were somebody else observing yourself. What mark would you give? And I do also explain to them that the little asterisk means that is the minimum I guess, evaluation that they need to get in order to say that they have passed that particular area that we're looking at. So we do that. And then what I do is I make sure to give them, I really like again, Anglophone East has this map. It's called the intervention map. One's for academics, one's for behavior. And there's another one about lesson planning, which is the teaching. It's a teaching process map. So tell them, follow as much as you can, because this will help you when you have your little hiccups. So when a lesson doesn't go your way, take it out and look at it and see, did I really follow those steps? And sometimes you see what you've missed. And then when you plan for the following day, it can be something that can enhance what you're doing. And the same thing when it came for children that they're seeing that they're having a difficult time, whether it's behavior or with their academics. Prior to saying, well, I'm going to go to the ESS team to ask for their help, this helps them to go to their team and say, these are the things that I have tried. As a team, let's collectively sit together and come up with various ideas that I perhaps maybe didn't think of, and then go back, try all these ideas that the team is asking them to do. And then if that again doesn't work and they follow the process, then they fill out a referral form and they take it to team. What I also do is I give them samples of various forms that I may use when I go for walkthroughs or for observations. The one that I really, really like that I've stolen from is Crandall University. I really like that because when you go, for example, for a walkthrough, you'll say, today I'm gonna focus on the way that she manages or he manages the students in the classroom. And there's various bullets that help you, like, are directions given clearly to students? Do they review expectations regularly? So I just focus on one particular area, and then I can easily go to the actual document that is the final evaluation document. There are aspects of this in there, so then I can start putting some comments in. Every year, I have every intention to go in sporadically and fill out the form. And every year I do the same thing. I keep a binder with all my walkthroughs, and I have a pile of sheets with my notes. And then I said, okay, I got to do the evaluation. And I sit there, just like in university, you go through your notes and then you actually do the report. That is not how you should do it. But unfortunately, every year I say I'm going to change and I don't. I think it has solidified who I am. I get them done. I feel comfortable that way because I have a binder with every teacher that I have to evaluate and their lesson plans and whatever observations and whatever feedback I get. I put everything in there as proof, because if, for example, something doesn't go right with a teacher and they say, well, you never did. You say, oh, yes, I did. That is your proof that this is the data that you're collecting in order to come with the decision you're coming up at the end. Before you give them an official evaluation, I always also ask them, we've gone through the process, we've gone through the visits, and we've discussed various points. You go and do your self-evaluation. They evaluate themselves. I do the evaluation, then we get together and we basically compare notes. And let's say if I put a 3 and they put a 4, I say, well, why should I put a 4? Convince me, prove to me why I need to change what I need, the ranking that I put in. And if they do have, because you don't expect to see everything at the time that you go and you evaluate, but if they can prove to you what they've done and explain their process, and it falls under their criteria of what, for example, a 4 is, then by all means, of course, I will change it. So it is collaborative. It is a lengthy process. I personally have made it very clear that at the time that the document was created, it was wonderful because you only had 1 or 2 teachers to evaluate. As time has gone on and we have like 15 to 20 to do, it's too cumbersome. So it has to become more precise and more user-friendly. But basically, that is how we get it done. I think the work that the district has done is really good. It can be tweaked a little to reflect more of the time that we have now. But that is how I go about doing it. It's impromptu walkthroughs, scheduled visits, a lot of talking, and they do their self-evaluation, and then we compare. When we compare, that's a long process. I tell them, get ready. It takes about an hour and a half. Some teachers want to do it one session, others want to do it in 2. We just work around everybody's schedule and we get it done. And I guess that's it. Any questions? I can't hear.
Oh,
And again, it doesn't mean I'm an expert, far from. This is just how I do it. If I can answer your questions, great. If not, we have Mr. Hutchins with us, and maybe he'll be able to help us.
I would like to know, other than what I printed off on the portal, Anglophony's evaluation, I would like to know where the other evaluation is that you have. Where can I find that?
The one that it talks about the 3 months and what we need to do, that was given to me. Where it now, right now, no idea, but your director of schools can definitely give you a copy of this. All the other forms that I was talking about, they're forms that I've had throughout the years that I've got from other principals, from people from universities that come in to observe the interns. I kind of ask for what they look for, their look-fors, and I kind of tweak it a little bit and kind of make it my own. But the one from Crandall, I have to admit, I really, really like. I forgot to mention, I also give the teachers Tier 1 strategies and the Tier 1 proactive behaviors in order for them to make sure that they do various interventions and what they can do in order to help students that are struggling. And I also give them a sample of just one of the domains, the classroom one, which I think is really, really important for them to read what they're supposed to be doing, and then to write down what exact evidence, what is it that they do in their classroom to prove that, yeah, this is what I'm doing by collecting, by having conferences, by whatever it is that they do. What data, what proof do they have to show that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing? Sorry, I forgot to mention that I add that in the file as well. So it's really through the years. I've been here as much as from the beginning of time in this school. So with time, you kind of collect things and then you tweak them and you make them your own. But I always give credit to, like I said, a lot of them from UNB, Nieuw de Moncton, but the one that I think is really concise that I personally really like is the one from Crandall. It's to the point. When you go in, you decide what you want to look for, and that's what you focus on for that particular moment when you go in.
Okay, then where would I get the information for what a 4 is and what a 3 is and what a 2 is?
I got that from the self-reflection tool. Again, it came from the Effective Schools Framework. And it has the following is a guide to determining ratings. So it comes from there. Again, it's something I've collected, but it is from the Effective Schools Framework, the Teaching Process Map and Self-Reflection. And that's where I got that. And again, is it still available? I have no idea. But I can always, again, but we can also ask the district. Maybe they even have an updated version. I don't know. Craig might be more aware of this since he's taking care of all the newcomers in the district. So that's what I use.
Okay.
So you should be able to ask your administrator, Kim, for a copy of that. And the portals have changed. There's a couple of changes in the SharePoints, but it also should be on a SharePoint. But talk to your administrator and get that, because that's what everyone is using in our district.
SharePoint.
Yeah. Also, and now Antigone mentioned the Crandall checklist, which is what I think as well is probably one of the best. But I think you just specifically use that yourself, right, Antigone?
Yes, it's not something that you have to use. It's just like I said, you take various things and you try to make the process that fits you and the teacher. And I just found that that particular checklist helps me to be more organized when you go in. Sometimes I just go in and I just write notes. What do they do and what I liked and what I didn't like and why come this is happening. And it's just a variety. But the key point is, regardless of what you decide to use as a tool, is to always take the time to meet with that teacher. Either the same day is ideal, but if they can't, at least 1 or 2 days after, so everything is still fresh in people's minds. And the question is, what you always start, at least I do, what did you like about your lesson? And then if you had to do it again, what will you change and why? And then you start, and then they say, okay, well, what did you think? Then I say, okay, this is what I thought. And I said, always start with the positive, of course. And then I say, perhaps next time when I come in, can you do a little bit more of this? So I'll get more clarification as to, for example, how do you differentiate? Or this little Johnny wasn't really paying attention. What is it that you can plan for next time to make sure that you have his attention on various activities? Or if it's an ELA speaker, or a multilingual speaker, like, what have you done to help that child? So you pinpoint some things that need work, but always start with the positive for sure.
Okay.
If any of you want a paper copy and you can't find one, for example, just reach out to me. I've got copies. But your administrator
Okay.
should have it.
Okay.
Tara, you have your hand up.
I do, and I still don't think you can see me, no?
No, we can't.
Oh, okay. I just a question, the process that you described, like reviewing each lesson that you observed, and meeting with the teacher, as well as when you do the formal form, going over it together. Is that a requirement? Like, is that the process that's supposed to be followed?
Is that, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Is that a what?
Is that a requirement for MIN? Like, is that process
No, like what
what's
I
supposed to
said,
be followed?
what I presented is what I do here at Evergreen. It doesn't necessarily mean that other administrators also do it. I'm just presenting what I do here at Evergreen.
Is there
The
a
only thing that
process-
everybody, I'm sorry?
I'm just wondering what the process is that administrators are expected to follow.
Well, the administrators must obviously meet with the contract D and LTS teachers, explain the process, which is there'll be walkthroughs, there'll be formal visitation observations, I guess, debriefing, and then that there will be that formal evaluation form that will be completed. That is what everybody should be doing, but then how you fill in between all that, that depends on every administrator. At least that is how I have taken it and done it for many years.
Tara,
Thank you.
also, your administrators should be meeting with you prior to coming in and evaluating the very first time to review all of those domains with you and what they will be looking for, and have time with you to have any questions, the answers. So that's important process. You should be meeting with them. You can request a meeting, right? So
I just want to speak from experience. That is not happening.
yeah.
So I wondered if it was a requirement.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can request that. The problem right now, of course, like Antigone said, in some schools, for example, like in one evaluation process is a long process, and right now, for example, Moncton High has 22 new teachers, so it's time consuming.
Right, for sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I know that I have 3 teachers that I will be finishing at Christmas time. So my focus is mostly with those 3. And then once that is done, that's when most of the other focus will be on the other teachers. I divide the task with the vice principal. I visited most of all, I should say, I've done all of them at least once or twice, whether they were here last year or not. If they're a contract due or a long-term supply, they've definitely have seen myself in the classroom, but we haven't done anything official evaluation. I've done several walkthroughs with those 3 that are going to be finishing at Christmas time. And they choose the date. They will tell me when I come in officially. And basically that's it.
Any other questions?
I hope that doesn't stress anyone. Everybody does it differently. And everybody that has come through here, at least, at the end of the process, I was like, was it that bad? They go, not really. I think the idea that you're being evaluated, you're like, oh my, you're already teachers. You're there to learn. It's just a process. And if you are doing, I went to university, I went to McGill and I graduated in 1988. But I will never forget the one thing, and his name was Dr. Charlie Brown, of all people. That was his name, Charlie Brown. And he said, if a teacher says I have 20 years or 25 years of experience, but they haven't learned anything new, they have 0 experience. So I look at it like this. You're in the classroom, and yes, you have your degree, but you must learn and you must change some of your practices. If you can say at the end that you've changed 1 or 2 and you've learned, that's what's important. Nobody's there to catch you and you're not going to get your contract. You're there to see, what can I do to help you? What do you need so I can try to get you the resources? However, you also need to put in that extra time and never say, well, NBTF. I'm sorry if anybody's with the union, but anybody that's a teacher knows you're going to have to put in the time and the planning in order to be able to cover the curriculum the way it needs to be covered. So when you decide to get into this profession, especially if you're beginning, get ready to put in those very, very long hours, because they're long hours even after you've started. But in the beginning years, prepare yourself, because it is difficult. It is long, but it's very rewarding. But remember, administrators are not there, at least I hope this is the impression I give at the school. Yes, I expect things to be done. I expect a lesson plan. If you don't have a lesson plan, then you're planning to fail your students and yourself. Have a lesson plan ready, but we're there to help. We're not there to pinpoint and get anybody fired. We're there to help and see what we can do to make you grow. And that's it.
Absolutely. My favorite part when I was administrator was going into classrooms and observing teachers. It was the best part of my day. Well, that and hanging out in the kindergarten class. But
well, I can tell you, I had to replace a teacher for 2 days in a classroom. I went to my husband and said, what the heck was I thinking? I had a blast. It was a lot of work, but I loved it. So the idea of administrators going back and forth is not a bad idea. It kind of gives you a reality. And you're like, yeah, I shouldn't be asking maybe for this amount of time. I need to give them extra time more. But overall, everybody's here to help each other.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That was really great. Thank you all for joining and attending. I know Doug has the sheet that you guys are talking about. He was trying to put it in, but I don't know if we can. I don't know. My Teams is strange. I can't seem to upload documents. But Doug, if you wanted to send it out to your colleagues that are here, or you send it to me and I can send it to the whole lot. Whatever works for you. I don't have access to the things in the East. So, but thank you so much for your time, everyone. And thank you so much for your expertise, for sharing with everyone. And I will never keep anyone later than they need to be. If you have some questions that you want to ask, but maybe you're a little shy to ask while there's a group, I'm sure you can stay on for a few minutes as people leave. And I look forward to seeing you guys at our next meeting. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was great, Antigone. Thank you. Hey, Doug.
Hi there.
Did you have any questions for me or?
No, I just was in the middle of sending that file over. So
Okay,
just
perfect.
that self-reflection tool. I don't know whether other districts use, they may not use that same effective schools
I don't
framework
think we
document.
use it. I don't think we don't use
Yeah.
it in the West. I don't think
Like
so.
some people are using EPPs and some people have a different, like they've always
Yeah.
told us that it's not always the same everywhere, but it is a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'll
And
send
this
it out
one-
to the East teachers if you send it to me.
Yeah, it should be in your mailbox shortly,
Perfect.
because I did send it. And this one, of course, I'm in a high school, so it might be a little different, but I don't think so. It does have those tier 1 proactive behaviors and tier 1 instructional